And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's latest speech is sparking some mixed reactions. Joining us right now is Andrij Dobriansky, a spokesperson for the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Andrij, it's always good to speak with you. Now, we've heard Zelensky's style. He's made comparisons with famed tragedies, infamous tragedies, comparing 9/11 to the war in his country. When he addressed German lawmakers, he compared the war to the fall of the Berlin Wall. But some Israeli lawmakers, they're not happy. In fact, they're angered over his comparison to the Holocaust. Did he go too far?
Not as far as the events that I've attended here in the United States. I've heard these comparisons being done by the rabbis of the Rabbi Council of New York. I've heard them stated by the need to intercede right now, calling on what happened in World War II by the heads of Jewish organizations in the United States. This is not outside the bounds of what public discussion is right now. And you'll hear very vehemently people asking within the Jewish community as well as the German community within Germany, why these two nations, which got the brunt of the hardest speeches, all these speeches that Zelensky is doing are individually tailored to each population. And the German Bundestag, when they got a speech, and the Israeli Knesset got the hardest ones, because they should understand the real meaning of history and what it means to turn your back on a people that are being eradicated. That's what's happening right now. And that's why it's especially painful for the population of Israel and the population of Germany that cares about the historical record, to make sure that those countries do something more.
There's a lot of compassion and a lot of passion, and there are still some who say you can't compare one tragedy with the next. Others who would say you can't allow any bloodshed. Zelensky criticized the Israeli government for not putting sanctions against Russia in place, similar to what the U.S. and some European nations have done. Why do you think Israel has not acted in this way yet?
It has a very multilateral game right now. They're trying to make sure that the population that they care about in Russia still has ease of access back and forth. I think it was a priority for them to protect the population, the Jewish population in Ukraine. But at this point, that has all fallen apart. There's clearly no safety for any Jewish people, as well as anybody in Ukraine, given the fact that the Jewish Center for the Elderly has been attacked. We've seen shrapnel hit the edges of the Baba Yar Memorial. There's no respect for what Israel holds dear, in terms of what's happening in Ukraine. And I think Zelensky's speech is probably the little impetus that Israel needs to start affecting change in the world a little stronger.
What do Ukrainian people need right now to defend themselves? Clearly, again, Russia continues to strike indiscriminately in civilian areas. This is just so destructive. But is there anything more that we can do?
Well, the world is ratcheting things up week by week. So we're hoping that something along the lines of an international oil embargo is the next step. We did see the very large announcement by President Biden, the fact that these tactical drones will be deployed now by the United States, that these missile systems that they want surface to air will do exactly what the refugees are saying, like in that welcome center in Warsaw that we saw earlier. They walk into those centers and they just make this symbol and they say, cover the sky. That's what Ukrainians want, some method of stopping those bombs coming down. I think the other important thing to realize is there are promises being made, for instance, by Germany, that have not come true because of political infighting. So some of the aid, it may not have been military, but any kind of aid is being slowed down from Germany. And I would also point that out to elected officials here in the United States. It's a midterm election year. There are some people who are attending Ukrainian rallies in cities and saying, I stand with Ukraine. And then they go to Washington and they're not voting for the military aid for Ukraine. This is going to play out in a different way, not just on the international stage.
All right, Andrij Dobriansky, thank you very much, as always, for being here with us and offering your perspective. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.